Premier has requested leave to make a personal statement. Is leave granted? Leave's been granted. I recognize the Premier.
Mr. Speaker, but for my own read of the history of our province and the book that he penned and released not too long ago called An Honourable Calling, regrettably, I didn't have the chance to know the Honourable Allan Blakeney too well, not as well as many in this Assembly. I have only my few and too brief encounters with our 10th Premier. Here still, I'm honoured on behalf of the Government of Saskatchewan to offer some initial and respectful remembrances of those occasions that I had to meet with him, and a few brief comments, if I may, on behalf of the side of the House on his extraordinary leadership skills and the leadership that he demonstrated for the province of Saskatchewan. Mr. Speaker, on each of my personal encounters, abbreviated as they were, I came away with the distinct and lasting impression of a man who was at once someone of brilliance and gravitas, while still so approachable and eminently decent. Were I forced to choose a sole descriptor for my first impression, I guess it would be class. This, I have heard, was not only the first impression shared by others, but the enduring and lasting memory by those who knew him longest and best. When Premier Romano called me on Saturday morning with the news after a time to absorb, I reflected on the matters that I had read, that he had written in his own pen from his own story. As Health Minister in the Lloyd government, that extended doctor services under Medicare in this province, as Premier through the federal-provincial toing and froing of the 70s, the introduction of the National Energy Program by Ottawa, and even the constitutional challenges of the late 1970s and early 1980s leading to the Constitution Act, the repatriation of our own Constitution, he was our steady hand. His leadership was in every way the manifestation of the exquisitely British World War II exhortation, stay calm and carry on. We are thankful that he was this kind of leader, Mr. Speaker, a leader who had that internal strength, that confidence of his own views, and the serenity to do just that, to carry on. For we have the Medicare we have today because of that leadership. And Canada has her own constitution today in no small way due to that leadership. And Saskatchewan found her national voice because of his steady voice and the equanimity of his leadership. We are thankful, Mr. Speaker, that he was recruited here after his gold medal performance at Dalhousie Law School. And we're thankful that he stayed. Though, as Dennis Grundig in the same essay referenced by the opposition leader pointed out, early on after his arrival, he remarked that Regina, quote, wasn't Paris, and that he had no intention of staying here very long. I wonder today at what moment, or during what moments, he changed his mind, together, I'm sure, with Anne and his family. He himself has offered us a glimpse into that decision point, but as we mark his great service today in this assembly that he loved, as we mark his decency and his leadership on this occasion, I'd like to think there was something that just told him that there was work to be done, great things to be done with the people of the province of Saskatchewan, and that was the reason that he should stay. It matters little why he chose to stay, but greatly that he did. And the fact that he stayed says a lot about him, and I think it says a lot about the province of Saskatchewan. I cannot say today, nor would he bid me do so, that I agree with all his ardently held views, nor support all that his administration did. But based on what I have read and what others have told me about him, the fact that we may disagree would not matter so much to him as the debate itself, the debate of those competing ideas, the intellectual integrity of the arguments that advanced them, that in the end each position was advanced in the cause of helping others and of building a better Saskatchewan, and finally that those arguments were tendered respectfully and civilly. Here was a leader who was a credit to his office, who could differ without animus, who could disagree without being disagreeable. Perhaps the best way to mark his living and honor his passing is to make that a test of our own public service in this place, the Blakeney test, that we could disagree without being disagreeable. That test may also include the provisioning of each of our political positions with examples of how our own views or policies or principles help people in the end. In his book, he wrote this: "All should seek knowledge of truth and beauty and should be sensitive to those who suffer." And just on the next page, interestingly, Mr. Speaker, he said this: "We all cross the River Jordan and all cross it alone. What is on the other side will remain a mystery or a product of faith. Our path on this side is ours to choose. Our choices should be guided primarily by being in the company with our fellow humans and all those whose lives we can touch." I believe, Mr. Speaker, that there's company in the next life too. And so on Saturday morning, the Honourable Allan Blakeney was well met indeed. To his wife of 52 years, and to Hugh and Barbara and Margaret and David, and all of the family, we know this: for one to serve, a family must sacrifice. And we thank them for sharing Mr. Blakeney with us today. And Mr. Speaker, to Premier Allan Blakeney, on behalf of a grateful province, thank you, sir. Rest in peace.